The room seemed to tilt sideways as my sister's palm connected with my cheek. The sting spread across my face like wildfire while conversation died instantly around the elegantly set dinner table. Forks froze mid-air. Wine glasses hovered at lips. My vision tunneled on Sabrina's face, flushed with anger but unmistakably satisfied as she towered over me. "Get out of my home, Lena," she hissed, each word deliberate and sharp. She shoved my shoulder hard enough that my chair wobbled backward, nearly toppling. The crystal chandelier lights above us suddenly seemed too bright, too exposing as everyone watched my humiliation unfold. My brother Daniel's whisper cut through the silence. She deserved it. Just loud enough for everyone to hear. My mother studied her wine glass like it contained ancient secrets. My father muttered, "Always causing drama, Lena." "My name is Lena, I'm 34, and I built a real estate investment company from nothing. This is the story of how I reclaimed not just a house, but my dignity from the family who spent years tearing me down." I steadied myself and watched as Sabrina smoothed her designer dress, reclaiming her position at the head of the table. She acted as though she'd simply swatted away an annoying fly rather than assaulted her own sister. The dining room around us, with its imported marble floors and custom millwork that I'd approved the contracts for, seemed to hold its breath. "You've always been poor, Lena," Sabrina continued, her voice dripping with contempt. "You don't belong at this table." I felt the familiar tightness in my chest, the same constriction I'd experienced at every family gathering for years. But this time, something different unfolded beneath it, a dangerous calm. My fingers brushed against the leather portfolio in my bag beside the chair. For 3 years, I'd allowed them to believe their carefully constructed narrative. Poor Lena, failed Lena, the family disappointment. While they mocked my unemployment, I was building an investment firm that specialized in distressed properties. While they pitied my tiny apartment, I was acquiring commercial real estate across 3 states. And while they believed Sabrina and her husband Ryan had purchased this 7-figure home through their hard work and brilliance, I knew exactly how the down payment had materialized and whose signature was on the deed. I didn't leave as commanded. Instead, I calmly pulled my chair upright, my hand still tingling from the impact of her harsh contact, but my voice steady as glacier water. "Funny," I said, "because I'm the only one here who actually paid for this dinner." The room fell silent for a heartbeat before erupting in mocking laughter. My cousin Jack leaned over, his voice sharp with amusement. "What did you do, Lena? Use coupons again?" Sabrina's wine glass hit the table with such force that burgundy liquid sloshed over the rim, staining the imported linen tablecloth, the one I'd selected from a boutique in Milan. "Stop embarrassing yourself," she snapped. "You can't even pay your rent and you want to act important here?" The cut went deep, slicing into years of similar jabs. But this time, I refused to show the wound. They had crafted a convenient fiction about me, broke, jobless, desperate, and I had let them. I'd remained silent through neighborhood gossip, family holiday humiliations, and endless comparisons to Sabrina's perfect life. None of them knew about the nights I'd worked until my eyes burned. They didn't know about the investors I'd courted while they slept, or the properties I'd flipped while they vacationed on credit. They certainly didn't know about the company that now employed 27 people, all while they believed I couldn't keep a job. Sabrina laughed, the sound like broken glass. "Just walk out before I call security, Lena." From the corner of my eye, I caught Ryan's smirk, that particular expression of superiority I'd grown to recognize. He'd never liked me, and now I understood why. The truth that lived in my portfolio threatened everything he'd built with her. I leaned forward, my voice low enough that they had to strain to hear. "Sabrina, before you throw me out, maybe you should check who actually signed the deed of this house." Her smile faltered like a light with a short circuit. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. My father leaned forward, confusion erasing the perpetual disappointment on his face. "What are you talking about?" Sabrina demanded, her voice no longer steady. I settled back into my chair, the calm in my body no longer forced. The bomb I was about to drop would reshape the family's landscape permanently, redrawing boundaries that had been established decades ago. Before I could speak again, Ryan shot to his feet, his napkin falling forgotten to the floor. "She's lying," he blurted, his words tumbling out too quickly. "Don't listen to her. Lena has always been jealous of you, Sabrina." His panic was palpable, hovering in the air like expensive perfume. It was all the confirmation I needed. Every eye at the table turned to me, awaiting an explanation. That's when I reached into my bag and pulled out the document that would make every smug smile vanish from their faces. I placed the folded paper on the table with deliberate slowness. The grandfather clock in the foyer seemed impossibly loud in the silence, each tick marking the final moments of Sabrina's facade. Her hand trembled visibly as she reached for her wine glass, a desperate attempt to project normalcy. My father craned his neck, squinting at the document as though it might bite. I didn't immediately hand it over. Instead, I locked eyes with Ryan. His fingers worked at his collar while sweat beaded along his hairline. His body language screamed what his words couldn't. He already knew exactly what information that paper contained. "Go ahead, Lena," Sabrina sneered, though her voice cracked halfway through. "Show us your bills or eviction notice. We could all use another laugh." I let the moment stretch, feeding their curiosity before finally unfolding the paper and sliding it across the polished table surface. My father snatched it first, his eyes darting across the lines of text. The color drained from his face like water from a broken vessel. "Sabrina," he said, his voice unnaturally quiet, "why is Lena's name listed here?" Chaos erupted. Sabrina grabbed the document, her hands shaking so violently the paper rattled. "No," she insisted, "this is fake. She forged this." But Ryan's head dropped into his hands, the universal gesture of a man who knows the game is over. And in that silent admission, the truth roared louder than any denial could. My signature, clear, bold, undeniable, appeared as co-owner of the very house Sabrina had claimed as her exclusive domain. 3 years ago, when Ryan had desperately needed help closing the deal, I had quietly stepped in. I provided the down payment, navigated the legal complexities, and secured the house partially in my name to help them qualify for the mortgage. They had promised to repay me within months. Instead, they pushed me further into the family shadows, treated me like an unwelcome charity case, and prayed I'd never reveal our arrangement. "I was patient," I said, my voice vibrating with the release of years of silence. "I let you enjoy your little fantasy. But tonight, when you struck me and told me to get out of my home, I decided enough was enough." Sabrina's perfectly glossed lips trembled. "You're lying. You don't have money. You don't even have a job." I leaned forward, finally allowing myself the smile I'd suppressed for years. "That's what you all wanted to believe. While you laughed at me, I built my own business. While you called me poor, I was investing. And while you were busy living off credit cards, I was buying everything you thought you owned." The silence that followed was absolute. My mother looked physically ill. Daniel stared with his mouth partially open, and Sabrina clutched the paper as though she could change its contents through sheer will. The truth was beginning to penetrate their carefully constructed reality when Ryan suddenly stood, his hands slamming onto the table hard enough to rattle the china. "This doesn't change anything," he declared, desperation elevating his voice. "Sabrina and I live here, not you. You'll never get this house." The raw panic in his tone revealed something crucial. Ryan had even darker secrets buried beneath the floorboards of their perfect life. Exposing him completely might destroy more than just Sabrina's pride. His outburst ignited the room. Everyone's attention pivoted from me to his increasingly panicked expression. Sabrina grabbed his arm, whispering something harsh and urgent, but he shook her off, pacing like a caged animal. "Sit down," my father ordered sharply. Ryan ignored him, letting out a laugh that contained no humor, just naked fear. "You all think Lena's the problem. You think she's lying?" He jabbed a finger in my direction, his hand visibly trembling. "Fine, let's tell them everything." Sabrina's chair screeched against the hardwood as she stood, her voice barely audible. "Ryan, stop." My pulse quickened. I had suspected there was more, but I hadn't anticipated Ryan's complete unraveling. He addressed the table, his eyes bloodshot and wild. "Do you want to know how Sabrina kept this house looking so perfect? Do you want to know why I begged Lena for help years ago?" His voice cracked as he continued, "Because we were drowning in debt. Sabrina maxed out every card to keep up with her fake lifestyle, and He hesitated, then expelled the words like poison. "I gambled away the rest." The room exploded with reactions. Daniel muttered expletives while my mother covered her mouth, shaking her head in stunned disbelief. Sabrina clutched at Ryan's sleeve, tears threatening to ruin her carefully applied makeup. "Stop it. You're ruining everything." But Ryan was beyond stopping. He pointed at me again, bitterness hardening his features. "Lena's not poor. She's smart. She built her business while we begged, borrowed, and lied. If it weren't for her, we'd be living in some dingy rental right now instead of pretending to be the perfect couple in this house." Sabrina's carefully constructed image shattered completely. She turned to me, her voice breaking between jagged sobs. "You knew all this time, and you let us think you were nothing." "I didn't correct you because that's what you wanted to believe," I replied evenly. "You needed me to be small so you could feel bigger. You wanted me to be weak so you could laugh louder." I leaned forward, meeting her gaze directly. "But the truth is, the only reason you're sitting here is because of me." For once, Sabrina had no clever retort. Her hands shook as she stared at the proof she couldn't dismiss. My father stood, his face flushed, with a volatile mixture of anger and shame. "Enough of this nonsense, Lena," he growled. "If you really had money, if you really were successful, why didn't you ever tell us? Why keep it a secret?" I met his stare without flinching. "Because you never bothered to ask. You only wanted a reason to mock me. And tonight you gave me the perfect stage to show you the truth." Sabrina collapsed back into her chair, tears streaking her expensive makeup. Ryan sat down too, defeated, muttering about ruined plans. The rest of the table remained frozen, processing the revelation like a sudden storm. But I wasn't finished. The document I'd shown them wasn't the only paper I'd brought that evening. What I was about to reveal next would transform Sabrina's world in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. Her tears hadn't even dried when I reached into my bag again. As the realization of my co-ownership sank in, I extracted a second envelope from my portfolio. Her eyes tracked my movement, wide with terror, as though she instinctively sensed I wasn't done. "Don't, Lena," Ryan pleaded softly. "Just stop." I ignored him, extracting a second envelope and placing it deliberately beside Sabrina's untouched plate. "This," I stated calmly, "is the real reason you should have never tried to humiliate me tonight." Sabrina's trembling hands snatched the envelope, tearing it open without finesse. As her eyes scanned the first line, the color vanished from her face. She dropped the papers as though they burned her fingers. My father collected them, read silently, then froze in place. This is impossible." Everyone leaned forward, desperate to understand. I finally broke the silence, my voice steady and resolute. "Not only am I co-owner of this house, I'm the sole owner now. As of last week, Sabrina and Ryan legally signed over their shares to me when they failed to repay what they owed. They were so desperate, they didn't even read what they were signing." The collective gasp was audible. Daniel's jaw slackened in disbelief. My mother whispered something incoherent. Sabrina stood so abruptly her chair toppled backward. "No, that's not true," she insisted, panic rising in her voice. "Ryan, you didn't tell me." But Ryan remained motionless, face buried in his hands. "We had no choice," he mumbled. "Lena owns everything now." The power dynamic had irrevocably shifted. The same people who had mocked me, struck me, and labeled me worthless were now staring at me as though I held their fate in my hands. And I did. I looked directly at Sabrina, who vibrated with a mixture of rage and fear. You told me to get out of your home, I said evenly. But the truth is, Sabrina, you've been living in my home all along, and as of today, you don't even have a claim to it. Her legs gave out and she sank back to her seat, sobbing openly now. My mother tried to speak but found no words. My father shook his head, finally comprehending that the daughter they had dismissed was the one who had been holding the family together all along. I stood, my voice calm but unyielding. For years you laughed at me. Tonight you tried to humiliate me, but I built something real. And unlike all of you, I don't need to scream or pretend. I just show the truth. I walked toward the exit, my footsteps echoing in the silent room. At the doorway, I turned back one final time. Enjoy the dinner, but remember, this isn't your home anymore. It's mine, and I decide who stays. The silence that followed was more profound than any insult they had ever hurled at me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the family outcast. I was the one with the final word. As I closed the door behind me, one certainty crystallized in my mind. The woman they had dismissed as insignificant had just become the most powerful person in the family. 3 months later, my father called to apologize. I'd given Sabrina and Ryan until the end of the month to find a new place, which they did, a modest apartment that matched their actual budget. Daniel eventually admitted he'd been wrong about me, and we've started rebuilding our relationship with weekly coffee meetings. My mother still struggles to accept the new family dynamic, but she's making efforts. As for me, I sold the house last month and used the proceeds to expand my business into 2 more states. Some family wounds never fully heal, but clearing the air of lies was the first step towards something more authentic. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.